on today's episode, I want to dive into a theory that I personally practice in my day-to-day life, and it is acting as if. Acting as if you are the person that is already living in your desired reality. And this is a little different than faking it till you make it, because it's actually about channeling a part of you that is dormant but authentic to you. And when you do that, you accelerate your manifestation. So if that sounds interesting to you and you really want to go after your dreams, then this is the episode for you. Keep listening. Hey there, it's your girl Nelly, matchmaker and dating coach. We talk about all things high value dating, how to meet your person, how to find love in today's dumpster fire dating economy, and also how to become a high value single, because as I always say, we don't attract what we want in life, we attract what we are. So if that sounds interesting to you, please make sure you follow and subscribe to this podcast, and I can't wait to take you along this journey. Welcome to the High Value Dating Podcast. So for today's episode, I want to focus on a theory that I personally live by, and it is acting as if. Acting as if you are the person who is already living your dream reality. Maybe right now, that feels miles apart. That feels like a very distant dream that is unattainable. But here's the thing. If you want to attain that reality, which for the record, you absolutely can, there is no reason why what you desire is not achievable. It might not be achievable tomorrow, but it doesn't mean that you cannot become that person who has all those things that you want to have and embody. If you continue to live in a state of feeling like you're never going to get there, well, guess what? You're never going to get there, because that's where your mindset is. So if you shift your belief into a state of abundance, in other words, believing that what you want is already on its way, and you act as if you are the person who's already living in that end state, you're going to naturally manifest it quicker, because everything in life is energy. And I was talking to a friend of mine who is a very successful businessman. He started a billion-dollar company from zero. He was broke. And he was telling me that one of the ways he was able to manifest his business being what it is today and actually become someone who, is incredibly financially well off, and, is essentially able to now teach other people how to do it, is even in his darkest days when he had no money and he was in debt, he acted as if he was a millionaire or even a billionaire. And he really started to channel that energy. What does that look like? Well, it looks like investing in new skills. It looks like surrounding yourself with money-minded people and not people who are always worried that they're going to run out of money or who are not financially well-to-do. It means starting to read business books instead of, wasting time on social media. It looks like actually getting to work, right? So taking inspired action and acting as if he was already the type of person who was wealthy put him on a path to become wealthier a lot quicker. So you could do the same, by the way, in your dating life. Like, let's say right now you are a woman and you continue to attract players. You continue to attract emotionally avoidant people, non-committal men. And if you do get involved with someone, they put you in a hookup box. Maybe you're not acting as if you are a wifey, and maybe that's the shift you need to make, right? If you were a wife, would you be tolerating that? Is that the type of man that you would marry? Probably not. So the shift might look like no longer engaging with people who are not meeting your standards, making sure that you come correct in every space and room that you walk in, but you also don't engage with people who are not coming correct. See, it's interesting. When I was younger, like early 20s, I would fall into that box a lot where men would kind of treat me as a booty call. I would get like a late night text. And it wasn't until I really started to act as if I was a high value woman that I started to energetically repel those types of men, because they were able to sniff it out. They knew, oh, I'm not going to even bother put this girl in that box because I know she isn't going to put up with it. I know she respects herself too much to do that. And so I started to energetically weed those men out, and in turn, energetically attract in men who were marriage minded, because they could see that, oh, Nelly's serious. Nelly's got goals. Nelly is someone who's poised and composed and who holds herself to a high standard and is the type of woman that I could see myself introducing to my mom. And that was the transition that had to take place, but it started with me. It started with me believing that I am wifey material. If you don't believe you are wifey material and you don't start to conduct yourself like wifey material, no one else is going to believe it either. Or the men who are, you're not going to be impressed by. And the same goes if you're a dude. Like if you want to be a husband, are you continuing to swipe right on women who look like insta-hoes? Are you continuing to put up with women who are over-sexualizing themselves on the internet and then complaining that they're not wifey material? I see this all the time. Maybe the answer is yes. And maybe the shift that you need to, as a guy, go through is starting to say no to the easy, casual, hookup material women. And that might mean a little bit of loneliness. It might mean less, instant gratification, but it also might mean saying yes to women who you do see as wifey material. And that's how you're going to attract your wife. Okay, so it's all about really holding yourself to a new standard and acting as if you are already living in your desired reality. And an exercise that you can do to put yourself in this state, and I suggest doing it every single day because truly habits are the backbone of manifestation, right? If you don't have the right habits in place, one of those habits being how you speak to yourself, but other habits being like actual actionable things that you partake in on a day-to-day basis, you are not going to arrive at the place you want to arrive in. You're going to either stay where you are, you're going to backpedal, or you're going to end up getting yourself on a different path that might take you to a different destination. So establishing habits that help put you in the end state will be very helpful. And one of the things that you can habitually do is ask yourself questions like, how would it feel to be a wife? How would it feel to know that the man of my dreams treats me like a queen? How would it feel to be in a relationship with a man who treats me like a princess? How would it feel to be able to open my bank account and see 6 zeros? How would it feel to, not 6 zeros, but 6 digits? How would it feel to wake up in my dream home? What would I do if I was living in my dream home? Would I clean the floors? Would I have a housekeeper do things because I know I'm not good at cleaning, right? How would it feel to be a skinny person? I remember when I was on my weight loss journey, I had to really step into that energy. Oh, it would feel great. So therefore, I'm going to embark on new lifestyle changes that are going to make me feel good in my own body. Or how would it feel to be someone who has a lot of muscle definition on their body? It'd feel great. Okay. So now you're inspired through just even asking yourself that question to take on things within your day that are going to put you in alignment with that, right? Maybe it's like, you know what? You're looking at the cupcake and you're like, how would it feel to wake up every morning, take a shower, look in the mirror and be like, damn, I look good naked. And then it's a lot easier to put that cupcake down at the grocery store, right? So asking yourself how it would feel and then actually for a moment, letting that feeling take over will help you shift into that end state a lot quicker. And part of it is a little bit of, that quote, like fake it till you make it. Part of it is a little bit faking it because it might not be authentic to you in this moment. It might feel foreign, right? It might feel like, well, I don't even know how to act like a wealthy person because I'm broke. I don't even know how to act like a wife because I've never had a man treat me like a wife, right? I might not know how to act like a person who loves their body because I've only ever hated my body. But what you need to understand is through these habitual changes in your inner dialogue and in your habits, you will inch closer and closer to being the person that you authentically are inside, just not at this particular moment, right? There's a version of you that you are waiting to step into, but you just haven't actually channeled that yet. And the fact that you desire that for yourself means it must exist. It is authentic to you. It's just something that you haven't focused on for a while, and so, or ever maybe, and so it feels foreign, right? But anything, just like, no matter what it is, everything starts foreign, right? Even if you meet someone, everyone starts as a stranger, and then you get to know them, and then you become closer, right? It might feel uncomfortable at first, acting as if you are the person that you're right now not. But the more you do it, the more it'll become you. And then you're going to wake up one day and you're not going to recognize the person you were today because it's going to feel like such a departure from who you really are inside. So anyways, that's where I want to leave things before the break. Stay with me after the break though, because we're going to dive into more on acting as if so that you can essentially leverage it to effortlessly take on the life of your dreams. Stay with me. Thanks for staying with me through that break, guys. So over the break, I was just thinking about how I was able to start acting as if. And I'm going to share a few methods that worked for me. Maybe they'll work for you too, maybe not, but worth trying at least. And one of those methods is I started to think about people I looked up to. Who are my role models? Who are people that I felt were really killing it in the spaces that I wanted to kill it in? And there are different role models I had for different things. Like, for example, there are role models that I have in the business world that I don't necessarily have in the fashion world, that I don't necessarily have in the coaching world, or in the relationship world, right? And so I started to seek out people sometimes that I didn't even know, right? Celebrities, public figures, but also people I knew in real life who I really admired. And I thought about what it would feel like to be them. How do they conduct themselves? And I studied them, right? Like, how does so and so talk? What types of things are so and so doing in their life? And the more I took on that exercise and I studied those people, the easier it became to create the person I am today. And each of us, whether we realize it or not, are essentially an amalgamation of our environment and the people and influences in our environment, right? Maybe there are qualities that your mother imparted on you that you now have, or your father, or your best friend. And yes, you are your own individual person. You're also influencing other people, but people are always influencing you too. So be very conscientious about the people that you look up to and give your energy to, because if you don't like the life that they're living, that energy is going to seep into your soul. And so for me, it was like, okay, I'll give you an example, fashion, right? I always liked how I dressed, but I want to always take my look to the next level. I enjoy rebranding myself. I love styling myself. And so I started to think about people who had the type of life that I wanted and how they dressed. And I know a lot of men do this too, where it's like you're entering the C-suite, for example, and you're like, okay, maybe I need to start buying well-fitted suits. Or if you're a woman, maybe I need to start looking polished and not wearing, cheap fabrics or ultra revealing clothing, right? And the more you study those people and then you implement what they do, the easier it is for you to enter into that end state, because so much of people's perception starts with how we present ourselves. Similarly, like, let's say you are struggling right now financially and you really want to pull yourself out of it. Maybe you're in a lot of debt. One of the ways that you can get there is starting to study people who have good financial literacy, right? Listen to podcasts on how to manage your money. Start studying and reading up on money management. Start to actually surround yourself with people who have good financial habits. And if you don't, if all your friends are spenders, maybe just limit the time you spend with them. Start to think like the type of person who has savings, has investments, has money set aside for a rainy day. What types of habits would that person be taking on in their day-to-day life? Would they be eating out 7 days a week, 3 times a day? Or would they be meal prepping and trying to pay off their credit card debt and living beneath their means and maybe investing in skills that are going to make them more money? Act as if you are the type of person you want to become. It might not be the most popular thing. It might not be something that is easy, right? You might have to let go of a lot of people in your life. There's always a price that you pay in order to get to the next level. Your current life will cost you your future one, but the reward on the other side might be so worth it. And change is uncomfortable. Change is not always easy because you might feel comfortable in your current life, even if your current life, by the way, isn't even that great. Like, if you are in debt and you have friends who aren't that cool or nice to you, maybe you have a boyfriend or girlfriend who doesn't treat you that well, the idea of something different might still scare you. But I implore you to take risks. This is your life and you only really get one. At the end of the day, right? We don't know if we're going to reincarnate back here. And if we do, I hope to God I don't reincarnate like a tree. So I want to make the most of my life and you want to make the most of your life. And so the question you need to ask is, can I afford not to change? Can I afford not to act as if I am the person who already has all the things that I want? Here's another example. There's a stat, and I think I maybe mentioned this before, that by 2030, 45% of women between 22 and 45 will be single and childless. Okay, many of whom not by choice. So if that is a reality that is looming in the background, can you afford not to act as if you are wifey? Can you afford not to walk away from men who do not meet your standards? Can you afford not to clean up your act? Can you afford not to have photos of yourself on social media that really make you look classy and like wifey material? Can you afford not to go on dates? Right? Act as if you are the person you want to be and do whatever it takes to get there. It's really up to you to change your life, though. And I'm being serious about this because I see a lot of people on social media just, talk about this stuff, but it's not always the wild wake up call that you need. I'm pouring a bucket of ice on your head right now because I want you to open your eyes and realize that, first of all, it is 100% possible for you to get whatever you want. I have worked with women who have been single for over 2 decades. And within 7 weeks of working with me on my through my Queen of Hearts coaching program, we're able to 180 their life and now have men who adore them and worship the ground they walk on and spoil them. But that shift isn't going to happen unless you invite it in. And it is up to you to actually implement habits and lifestyle changes that take you there. Like with that one woman, for example, that I just mentioned, she had to walk away from a guy who she was definitely attracted to, and she had an on and off thing going on for many months. And that sucked in the moment. But because she was willing to walk away from her old life, she made room for her new life, which ended up being 10 times better. So take chances and act as if you are the person that you want to be. And also, you might get made fun of. Might get mocked. I know when I used to work in corporate America, I always acted as if I was an executive, just in how I spoke and how I dressed, right? I wasn't. I was like an associate, but I wanted to act as if I was that type of person. Because I did, I got promoted quicker than people who started before me. In part, I mean, I also did a good job at work, I would hope to think, but like I acted as if I was the person that closed the most sales. I acted as if I was the person that, had the most organized accounts. And because of it, in turn, I attracted in promotions that put me on that path a lot quicker. Same thing with my body goals, right? I've talked about how I went through a bit of a weight loss. I was never like huge, but I lost about 25 pounds because I started acting as if I was someone who really loved my body. I started acting as if I was someone who was able to go shopping for swimsuits and jeans. That's something I, always hated my whole life. Point being, act as if you are the version of yourself that you want, and then just watch everything else fall into place. And yes, people might not like you. People might get upset when they see you change because it makes them uncomfortable. That's not your problem. That is not your problem. You need to focus on you, and you need to be a little bit ruthless about your goals and your dreams. And I'll say something else. I know a lot of men, I have a lot of guy friends, and the big difference I see with my male friends versus my female friends is my male friends are typically pretty ruthless about their goals. They will do whatever it takes. They will take a lot more risks. And so if you're a woman and you're listening, pull a page out of their playbook for a minute here, because I think you can't afford not to take risks and put yourself in a position where you go for the life that you want. If you don't take risks, you're going to stay exactly where you are. You are. And again, study people who have things that you want. How does that person walk into a room, right? If you want to look, like a 10, look at people who are 10s. How do they act? How do they walk? How do they talk? If you want to be married to someone successful, what are those women like? Are they super loud and brash and sloppy, or are they pretty poised and put together, right? If you want to be a successful business person or creative, how does that person interact with other people? Do you make people feel good? Do you add value? Do you offer to help? Or are you always complaining and bringing problems, right? Think about the type of person that you dream of being and ask yourself, how would they be moving through this world? What are their habits? How do they talk? How do they walk? How do they think? Who are they around? Right? What's their environment like? What is a routine for them from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep? And then actually start to bake those habits and goals and routines into your life. And then just watch what happens. It is literally a matter of time. And don't get caught up in things not happening quick enough. Just pedal to the metal, focus. And again, whether it's love, whether it's money, whether it's physical appearances or body stuff, like it's all the same formula. It really is all the same formula. So think about the formula that you need to implement to get to where you want to be and start acting as if you are already that person. And ask yourself, can I afford not to? Stay with me because after the break, I want to talk a little bit about rejection. You might run into some rejection as you embark on your acting as if experience. And I want to equip you with some ways to bounce back from that. Okay. So stay with me and I will talk to you right after the break. Thanks for staying with me through the break, guys. So as you start acting as if, you might run into some rejection and that might deter you, right? Let's say you are trying to pay off your credit cards and then you get hit with a really big bill and you're like, well, great. Now I have more debt, and then it puts you 10 steps backwards. Or let's say you are dating and you're trying to be wifey material and you meet a really great guy who you view as husband material and you get your hopes up and then all of a sudden he ghosts you. You're like, well, great. Obviously it's not working. The way I want you to respond to these situations is to actually, first of all, be grateful for them, because a lot of the time, these are signs from the universe that are coming into your path to see and test how you respond and react, right? You don't think people who are wealthy have financial setbacks sometimes? Of course they do. You don't think women who are, wifed up, or men who are married, they don't have issues as well? Of course they do. This is a test from the universe to see how well you're able to persist through these difficult times. So in these moments, be grateful for them because it's a sign and it's symbolic that you are actually closer and closer to where you're trying to get, right? Oh, well, the fact that I attracted a man who's husband material, that actually means I'm on the right path here, right? Because I'm starting to see a change in caliber in terms of the guys that are coming into my life. Secondly, after you give gratitude and send gratitude toward that experience, take on a perspective shift. It's very easy to believe that we are the reason things are not working out, but it could be a multitude of reasons. It could be a multitude of reasons why that person ghosted you. Maybe they just got out of a relationship and they're not healed. Maybe they're not in a place where they're ready to be a husband. Maybe you guys are not lifestyle compatible and you don't see it yet, but they do. And it's actually just positioning you to learn more about yourself and become stronger so that when the right person does walk into your life, you are wholly confident and secure in the person that you are, right? There are a million reasons why things that feel like opportunities turn into setbacks, but really they're actually setups. And so learning to reframe rejection as redirection and continue persisting in your acting as if vibe and mentality and attitude is how you're going to continue accelerating the manifestation process. And again, the reason we're grateful for these experiences is they provide us with perspective that we are on the right path. They are not a reflection of failure. They're actually a reflection of success. It means you are successfully doing the things you need to be doing. And here's another thing. We cannot control timelines. Okay, we cannot control timelines. So you can act as if you are a wife. You can act as if you are a husband, and you might not meet the person of your dreams for another 2 years. But have the unwavering belief that they will enter your life. It's kind of like if you act as if you are a wealthy person. Well, yeah, you might not make $1 million tomorrow, right? It might take a few years. It might take a couple business setbacks. It might take you having to start some businesses, fail, start again, fail, right? But that doesn't mean that you are not on your way. There really are only winners and quitters in this world. Winners and quitters. Here's another thing. I was watching a TikTok and this girl was talking about how one of the ways her mom manifested her dad when she was single is she started walking around her room in her home with a fake wedding ring on her fourth finger, her wedding ring finger. And that put her in the energy of, being a wife, because every time she looked down on it, it felt familiar. It didn't feel foreign, right? I'm not saying you necessarily need to do that, but hey, do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. If it means you walk around town, or not town maybe, because then you're definitely not going to find a husband, but you walk around your home with a wedding ring on, or you start to make sure your home feels like the type of home where if a man walked in, he would feel like, okay, this is wifey material. This woman knows how to make a house a home. Or if it's carrying yourself a certain way or interacting with men or women a certain way, right? Are you swearing all the time or are you speaking in a classy manner? Are you putting out on the first night? Not that you can't do that and still find, a spouse, or are you making people earn access to you physically, right? There are different things you can do, but start to hold yourself to that standard. And the more you hold yourself to that standard, the more that standard will just become natural. It'll become the norm, right? I think I've said this before. First, you become your habits, then your habits become you. I, for example, was not always the way that I am today, right? I have definitely been on my own growth journey. There was a time where if a guy rejected me or ghosted me or didn't call me back, I would really be super sad about it. And where I'm at now is if that happens, I am like, okay, well, it's just not my person. That's fine. Next, right? And you move on because you realize that the person that you're meant to be with wouldn't put you in that position. And so you're grateful for it because it's more data from the universe that, cool, it's not my person. Act as if you already have all the things that you want, right? Think about, for example, and you could do this through visualization as well. Think about what it would feel like to wake up in your dream home, in your dream body, in your dream relationship. Would you walk around if you knew that if you, for example, were married to the love of your life, would you walk around closed off and bitter and with a frown on your face? Or would you walk around as if you were in love and love was everywhere? And would you treat people in a loving way? Probably the latter, right? And so why not do that today? Because here's the catch 22. Stepping into that energy is going to magnetize that energy to you quicker, right? If you're walking around acting loving, acting, happy and as if you were in love, you're going to find someone, you're going to magnetize in someone, who is also on that wavelength. They're going to be like, wow, this girl or this guy is such a delight to be around. And then boom, you're going to find your equal. But if you're upset and down in the dumps, people aren't even going to want to interact with you. You're going to be repelling them off. All those opportunities are going to be repelling, right? Here's another example. And this is something too, like a lot of times when we don't have what we want, we might be intimidated by it. We might be like, well, there's no way a guy like that would get with a girl like me. Well, not with that attitude, right? Certainly not with that attitude. Act as if you are worthy of your manifestations. How would it feel to be the person who is confident enough to receive those manifestations? Probably feel great. So take on that energy. Worst case, it's not for you. It rejects you. Best case, it works out. And again, even if it rejects you, even if the thing you're trying to attract rejects you or there's a setback, it's still a blessing. It is still a sign from the universe. Look for those signs and trust in the timing of your life. Things take time. It's not always overnight. Be patient, be grateful, and really practice being the type of person that you want to be. It is a little bit of acting, it's a little bit of role play, but the thing is, it's not necessarily fake because it does align with the version of you that you're authentically trying to become, right? Like, for example, I don't have a desire to be a pop star. So I'm not going to act as if I am a pop star. I'm not going to get on this podcast in a bedazzled bodysuit. I'm not going to have a bedazzled microphone. I'm not, because that's not authentic to me. But there's someone else that is authentic to. And so they're going to have a podcast and their deep desire is going to be, I want to be a pop star and release a record one day. And so they're going to show up differently. But that's authentic to them, right? So my point is, whatever you want is already authentic to you. It just might feel foreign to you, but the way to inch closer to being that person who has the things that you want and desire is to start acting as if you are that person already. I hope this made sense. I'm happy to elaborate on it more in a future episode. If you enjoyed this episode, which by the way, I could talk on this stuff forever and hours, feel free to send me a message on Instagram. You can submit a voice note question and I might feature you on a future episode, or leave a comment on my YouTube. And if you enjoyed this episode and you're liking my podcast, which I hope you are, please leave a rating or review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're streaming it. And I will talk to you in my next episode. Bye.
Pioneer.